All right, we're live. Welcome to Sports Shorts and More, episode, what is it, 7? Does it feel like 7?
Feels good.
Yeah.
Whatever number it is.
Let's go with 7.
All right.
We have a studio audience. Yay. We have new people in our studio audience. It was really wonderful.
It's a packed house today.
It is packed house. Yep.
Yeah, it's like a standing room only crowd here.
Yep. With the new distancing guidelines, we've done the best we could to fill the stadium. So it's looking good.
Yeah, definitely.
How was your weekend?
I had a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Watched a little football yesterday and
The
passed out
Bengals
some Halloween candy Saturday night
Yeah.
while checking my phone for the Ohio State Penn State score.
Yep.
So it was all good.
my school was wrong.
What's
Yeah,
that, Larry?
that's right, Larry. Your score was wrong. Thank you for being big enough to admit that, Larry.
But
Larry had a couple predictions for us.
well, and I have to do a bow down to Melvin because he came into my office the other day and he said, Bengals going to whoop Tennessee.
Yes, he did.
I said, Melvin, in your wildest dreams, there's no way that's going to happen. He's like, you watching? He's like, I guarantee it. So Nostradamus Austin down there, he called it. The Titans went down to the Bengals.
I'm going to play.
I was very impressed.
I'm going to play just a little tiny bit of devil's advocate with you
Okay.
because Melvin has come into my office before every game and predicted a win. So sooner or later he had to get one. Sooner or later, but you picked a good one because Tennessee was looking awfully good until they came to town yesterday.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all.
Neither was I. Did you watch the game?
Well, it was a battle of the remotes because
Okay.
my son likes to watch the NFL Red Zone.
Mhm.
So, because he's a big Packers fan, the Packers game was on. So him and I do battle over the remote. So I would see bits and pieces of the Bengals game. When he'd get up to go to the bathroom or get a snack,
Right.
I'd take it and flip over to the Bengals game. And so I catch the little pieces that way.
I fell asleep at halftime. And this was yesterday, right? Feels like a long time ago. Fell asleep at halftime and woke up and went right back to sleep and didn't know that the Bengals had won until I got here this morning.
Really?
Yeah. I really thought they were, Judy, I really thought they were going to collapse in the second half like they've been doing.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah, I saw a post on Facebook that said, it was like the fourth quarter and it was getting late, and somebody posted, the Bengals are going to need to find a really creative way to lose this one because it was pretty much in the bag by the middle of the fourth quarter.
That.
So it was good to see because Zach Taylor, I think, was starting to feel the heat a little bit.
Mhm.
And just when you listen to kind of the news and the talk shows, people were like, maybe he's not the guy. And to see these guys kind of rally around him and, it was interesting. They traded Carlos Dunlop, who was very unhappy there. And I'm not saying they won because Carlos Dunlop got traded, but I'm saying sometimes when you kind of clear the air of that negativity, good things can happen. Now, whether they can sustain it is a whole nother story. And I'll be curious to see if any Bengals get traded today. I think today's or tomorrow's the trade deadline. So there's I know John Ross mentioned he wanted to be traded, and
What about AJ Green?
AJ Green's a great question, Tony, because
AJ Green.
he's on a 1-year contract, a franchise tag, and I think if the Bengals were smart, they would see if they could get a little something for AJ Green because he's probably not in the long-term plans for them.
No.
Melvin, what do you have?
When you see it, it take them long to replace those 4 players if they was in need. I think some of them was on injury, was 4 players they needed. They replaced all of them. They was ready for the game on offense, defense, everything. It just looked like a different team. They didn't make no mistakes. All they did was 1 pass interference. That's what I thought they were going to do.
Yep.
They kind of set up real quick. They got an interception. Come on, right on that.
Hey, when you look at their offensive line, this is what is absolutely amazing to me about yesterday. Their entire offensive line was the starting line was gone yesterday.
Yes.
They had Billy Price played center, who's been a backup.
Yeah.
The left and the right tackles were both backups.
Yeah.
The left guard was a guy they signed earlier in the week. Last name was Spain, and he came off the bench and played and did a nice job. And then at the right guard, they had I think Shaq Calhoun was in there for a while, and he's a backup. He got taken out and was replaced by Redmond, who's kind of been a career backup. So the entire line yesterday was backups, and I thought
And they did great.
we'd be visiting Joe Burrow in the hospital. I just with the line like that, and
They
they did a nice job.
Not one sack.
did a nice
Not
job.
one.
He didn't get sacked no
Times
time.
are tough.
Yeah.
So that was,
That's the first game he's been through without
That
getting
was
sacked.
long yesterday.
and
Yeah.
it's not often I can say good job offensive line,
No,
but
but
man, that was a
Really
great
nice.
job.
yeah.
And even the defense, which has been much maligned lately, they, not a lot of sacks, but they played well.
I'm with Melvin on the one pass interference penalty. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's when I thought the team was getting ready to collapse.
Yep.
They only hit like, about 3 minutes or something to go. Then all of a sudden, he turned back around and, first they said that interception wasn't no good. And all of a sudden, he turned around and got the ball back. That was a good interception. So they got on it, and they kept on pushing. They looked real good. So my prediction is this. They get the rest period this week because they got a bye. They're getting ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Undefeated team. And I'll say that they're going to upset the Steelers.
Okay, that's back to the Melvin. I know.
Yesterday was the number one defense. That was Tennessee. The ones that Pittsburgh just barely beat by a field goal.
Yeah, see,
That's all true.
The Bengals just blow them about, let's say, blow about 10 points.
Well, after he predicted the Tennessee game, I don't know if I can go against him.
He's got some more.
Hey, Melvin, where do the Bengals play Pittsburgh? Is it here or is it in Pittsburgh?
Let's see, that game yesterday was here, right?
Yeah.
So I think it might be in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we will
Oh, yeah.
we will see what happens.
Okay, then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, Pittsburgh. They just look awfully good.
The number one football game. Because everybody was looking forward to yesterday, got beat. I could not believe it. The Packers got beat. The Browns looked like they was going to get out with a fight, but the Raiders managed to beat them.
Against the Raiders.
But yesterday was a rough day for me because I do this every week. WGRR has a pick'ems where you pick all the teams that you think are going to win, and the prize is a 55-inch television. So 3 years ago, I was in the lead going into like the last 3 weeks, and then I think the last week I was down like 2 points, and I finished like in second or third place. So I just missed the TV by that much. This year, I've been second place as of this weekend, 2 games behind, but I did a terrible job picking. I didn't listen to Melvin. I took Tennessee. My son, I had picked Miami, and my son talked me out of it, and so I switched that pick. I had the Browns over the Ravens. I had the Ravens over the Steelers. I just missed a bunch of games.
Chargers.
So yeah, I haven't seen the results yet. I usually check on Tuesdays, but I know I'm going to be taking a fall.
Browns playing the Raiders.
Oh, the Browns played the
And
Raiders.
the Seahawks was playing Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right, they were.
Yeah.
He was trying to get that. I think it was like
Next weekend?
15 points.
Or you know this past week, Seahawks played San Francisco. Seahawks played San Francisco.
I think the 49ers beat them.
Nope, Seattle won.
Oh, they did?
Seattle crushed them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo did not look good, did he?
No, and then he left with an injury.
He did.
Speaking of not looking good, your Dallas Cowboys.
I'm telling you, I told you this week 1. If they were in the SEC, it'd be a different story.
I would hope so.
They would be up there among the top.
They started looking good at first.
They were winning, I think, 9-7 at halftime.
They started looking real good. They was making what do you call it, the defense was looking real good. They wasn't letting us run this much.
John Wood there.
The third quarter, they just started playing opposite.
Did you watch? You didn't watch any
I
Cowboys
didn't
game?
watch any of it. No.
Oh.
Would you like a brief summary?
I would. Very brief, yeah.
All right, so they're winning 9-7 at halftime. Their kickers kicked
How'd
a
they get to 9? Was it 3 field goals?
3 field goals, 2 49ers,
59.
a 59-yard field goal.
Holy cow.
And then I think they started I can't remember if it was the end of the first half or the second half. He missed a 53-yarder that would have made it like 12-7. And then Philadelphia went and scored a touchdown, made it 14-9. And then
It was all over.
the
from there.
defense scored a touchdown, and then they got a safety. That was pretty much it after that.
So Tully's defense scored a touchdown.
So Dallas actually, they played well. Their defense was much improved because they'd set a record. They had gone
For the
like
most points given up.
most points, and then the first half of the last 6 games, they've given up 20 or more points. I looked at the halftime scores of their games that they showed on time, and they've given up 31
They
points
were
in one half.
way behind. Yeah.
And no team, I think, in the history of the NFL had given up 20 or more points 6 straight weeks.
Yeah. I think Mike McCarthy is the issue. I really do, because they have a decent team. Now they're a third-string quarterback now, but their defense should be much better than it was the first 5 weeks.
Well, and I think it said a lot, too. They made the comment when Andy Dalton got hurt. Nobody really rallied around him getting hurt. If you watch the Seattle game, Russell Wilson kind of went into a slide, and a 49er came in and hit him in the head. And three Seahawks went over and defended Russell Wilson.
Yeah, you're talking about on the field.
On the field, whereas when Andy got hurt, it was like, okay. And I think that says a lot about the camaraderie and the mentality of where a team is at, that you're not together. That team is clearly
and when
not
Dak
together.
when Dak went off the field, and hi Vicky, the other team rallied around him. Even it wasn't just the Cowboys. You know, Jason Garrett was there because he was coaching for the Giants. But I agree. Yes, Melvin.
Did you see the Saints? That guy was like throwing like they was in the ring punch.
Oh, somebody did get thrown out in the Saints game.
He should have been thrown out. He deserved it.
Dude was like, they was a big piece on the face, and all of a sudden he straight right hand, like, bam, and he just wow, he hit with a left, bam, bam, and he just like that. And I said, well, I know he's getting ready to throw it. He got thrown out.
So I was reading about the AFC North today, and we've got three Heisman Trophy winners, the quarterback, and a 2-time Super Bowl winner. So the question is, does Joe Burrow need more than this year to be competitive in that division, or is he going to be able to be competitive next year?
Well, he needs more.
Yeah.
Not him personally, but surrounding him, he needs a lot more. He needs an improved offensive line.
Yep.
And
Joe Burrow's getting
What are you talking about, Chris?
talking about Joe Burrow and the Bengals, what they need to compete, because and I mean they could potentially go 0-6 in the division. They're already 0-3 in the division,
Yeah, they could.
and still have 2 against Pittsburgh and 1 against Baltimore. And so unless they can find a way to A, better protect him, and B, on the defensive side of the ball, be more consistent, with a pass rush and stopping the run, then that team is going to be at the bottom tier of the division.
How about the running game when Joe Mixon is back, or even without Joe Mixon? Because Gio Bernard did a pretty good job yesterday.
Number 34.
P-Ron?
Yeah,
he did. They did a nice job. The running backs did a really nice job yesterday. As good as Joe Mixon is, they didn't miss him.
Bernard just showed up. He got about 2 touchdowns in the whole game. They look real good.
So who are all these guys in the AFC North with all these awards? So you
got Baker Mayfield won the Heisman.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson won the Heisman.
Did he win the Heisman? Okay.
Yeah. Joe Burrow won the Heisman.
Okay,
So
that's three
three
Heismans.
Heisman quarterbacks, and then Big Ben won the Super Bowl twice.
Okay.
Did win the Heisman. I don't think Miami's ever had a Heisman Trophy winner.
I wonder where he finished, because he had a spectacular
He did
career.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you talk about, look, you got to be talking about the guy that came in for the injury. That was the Miami's, Alabama's quarterback. He got his leg broken.
You talking about Tua Tagovailoa? Yeah,
Different game.
You see what they did?
Yeah.
They just drove the Rams out like they weren't even there.
Well, speaking of college football, I see a little note on here from Linda that said, sorry to whoever said Penn State was going to win last week.
Who could that have been that just got called out?
Who said that? I wasn't here last week. Who would have said that?
It was our friend to the right.
Larry, you went against the Ohio State Buckeyes? Oh, Larry, there's a seat down at the end for you. Just kidding. So you thought Penn State was going to win. All right, when you're going to make a statement like that, I need to know the whys. Why are they going to? Was it because their defense was going to be better than Ohio State, or
I said anything can
happen in college football.
You're right about that. It wasn't Penn State.
Anything happened to Penn State the week before?
Last year game.
What's
Penn
that?
State beat that last year game. Penn State did beat Ohio State last year.
So yeah, Penn State's had some good games against Ohio State.
But Ohio State has got real good now. Just went down with the quarterback and the running back.
Well, the big game this weekend is Clemson against Notre Dame.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Clemson does
No
not have
Trevor
Trevor
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Yep.
And Clemson almost lost
They
to
did.
Boston College.
They were down big.
Clemson
Yeah.
beat Notre Dame 31-7.
Whoa. Okay. You hear that one?
Larry's writing it down. Linda, catch this. It's been predicted that Clemson will beat Notre Dame 31-7.
Yep.
Yes.
Who does Ohio State play this week? Does anybody know?
Rutgers will beat Ohio State 24.
No, wait.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
You just made my head
I think we just
explode.
added the predictions section to
Yeah,
the
we did.
show.
Rutgers.
24, Ohio State 21.
Christine, how do you feel about that?
Christine.
Rutgers over Ohio State. Can you agree with that?
Honestly, I don't know.
You're okay.
Keep in mind, Larry said double overtime, so that means no one's really scoring in the regular game. It's only 24-21. I'm gonna up predict you. I'm gonna say that who's Justin Fields? That's the quarterback's name, right?
Yeah.
He's missed on 5 passes this year in 2 games. I think
What?
that
He's only hit 5 incomplete passes?
yeah. I think that Rutgers is going to go down by more than 35 points. I think it's going to be ugly. That's my prediction.
Vanetta, what do you think? Rutgers or Ohio State?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. I think we need a show of hands. Tony, what do you think? Ohio State over Rutgers? Who? All in favor of Ohio State over Rutgers? Let me see a hand raised. Ohio State. Michael, what do you think? Ohio State or Rutgers? Who's going to win? Okay.
We'll catch you for Ohio State.
And Christina, even though you're new, we're going to give you Ohio State on this one to
Yep.
make you look good.
Okay.
Because Larry is the lone Rutgers supporter. All right. Larry, there's nothing wrong with being on an island all by yourself.
Nope, not
When
at
it
all.
comes to predictions.
And
Not at all.
This will be Georgia 20-17 in overtime.
It's a lot of overtime
overtimes,
games.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Speaking of overtime, Texas Longhorns decided to win a game this weekend. Did you see that?
No, who'd they
They
beat?
beat number 6 Oklahoma State
Oh, I did hear about
Yeah.
that.
Anything can
in
happen.
overtime. Yeah. After they got themselves out of the race for the college football playoff championship, they decided to win a game or two. Yes, Mel.
Michigan State whooped Michigan.
They whooped them by 3 at the buzzer. It wasn't much of a whooping, but they did beat them.
I did not know
Which
that.
leads me to Jim Harbaugh. And should Jim Harbaugh be on the hot seat at Michigan? Because
Oh,
when you think
most
about
definitely.
it,
Yeah.
what
Should've
is
been.
he really? He's never beaten Ohio State that I can
No,
think
no, he
of.
has not.
And so he doesn't have a whole lot on his Big
Mm.
Ten resume.
That's the
Nope.
last game of Ohio State.
You know, as far as because at Michigan, your job's to win the big games,
Yeah, exactly.
not to go. 9-3,
Yep.
9-4.
You got it.
Ohio State last game, I think, with Michigan.
So that's who they'll play. But I think if Jim Harbaugh does not beat Ohio State this year,
Oh,
he could be in some trouble.
I'm with you.
He's gonna go back to the pro.
He could. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
It just might be that Michigan is not the right fit because he took the San Francisco 49ers to
Mhm.
the Super Bowl. You don't do that and not be a good coach.
Nope.
So he can definitely coach, but maybe this just isn't the right fit. That could be it, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michigan State beating at Michigan. It's a tough one.
Well, his brother's the coach of Baltimore.
Yeah.
I saw something on Facebook. I don't know if this was just somebody being funny or if there was any truth to it, but they had put a little note out there about Marvin Lewis to Ann Arbor. And I don't know if they were being joking or if there was anything
Does he have any tie at
to
all?
that.
in Michigan?
I don't know.
Whoever they hire will have to have a serious tie to Michigan.
So that's what I would think. But, sometimes when you've gone the Michigan route so many times that sometimes you need that fresh air from outside an organization that maybe they would look outside.
Maybe
We'll have to see.
that's a stretch for me.
We got, what do we have here?
Linda
Ozzie
Ozzie Nelson played for Rutgers way back in the day. Ozzie Nelson. Remember Ozzie?
I do not know who Ozzie Nelson is.
I remember the name. Linda, you got to help us
I know
out.
Ozzie
because-
Newsome,
There you go.
but he went to Alabama.
Yep.
Big good
But-
Judy.
Ozzie
Yeah,
Nelson.
Linda, help us with Ozzie Nelson, or Google it.
Yep.
The person tired. I love Alabama.
They
My
looked
favorite
awful good.
college team, football team.
That's my wife's favorite too, is Alabama.
Uh-huh.
Florida and Michigan, including UC, actually.
So we're getting an Ozzie Nelson update.
There is an Ozzie Nelson Rutgers football.
Oh, wait a minute, we have Ozzie and Harriet, the TV show.
That's what I came up
That's
with.
where I was
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
I was about to say it, but I thought it was going to look silly and be on an island like Larry is with his pick.
You know what? Ozzie Nelson was at Rutgers, but he's a band leader, like a real band,
Oh,
like leader, like on the field.
interesting.
Yeah, he's got his own little Wikipedia page. He originated and starred in The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet.
Okay, well there you have it.
So yeah, Linda is right. Fact check. Linda is right. Ozzie and Harriet. Yep. You're not that much older than me.
Good try though.
Yep.
So, any other brave predictions for this week?
Number 8, Florida being number 5, Georgia 29.
I agree with that one. Georgia's not nearly as tough as I thought they were going to be.
Who's that?
Georgia and Florida playing. What was the score again, Larry?
Florida 20, Georgia 9.
You talking about, I got them mixed up. I'm talking about Georgia Tech.
No,
They just really won. No.
I wanted Georgia Tech to be Notre Dame.
They lost.
Oh, they got
That's it.
clobbered. Notre Dame lucked out by not having to face Trevor Lawrence. It'll be interesting to see.
And the Cincinnati will clobber
What's
Houston
up?
57.
I'm just checking to see what the stories are out there in the news if we're missing anything.
So we are missing something in college football. We're missing the CFP ratings have not come out yet, but ESPN has started their anchor,
Cincinnati's number 6.
you know, putting them. Yeah. Cincinnati is number 6 in the AP poll, but they're also the leader in the non-top 5 conferences, right? They're the only
Mhm.
non-top 5 school out there in the top 10. So they've got a really good shot if they run the table of making it into the playoff, which would be nice.
I
But
mean,
they got 'em-
kudos to UC. I mean, that's
They got them running through. They got 'em boosted. Now
they were, I think,
undefeated.
rated 7th
hmm
coming into it.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State lost, so that moved them up 1.
Okay.
But they looked great. I watched that Memphis game, and Memphis has been giving UC trouble the last few years. They kept him out of the playoffs last year. They kept him, yeah,
That's right.
yeah. They did play him for I think a 3rd time maybe, but they demolished him. They looked really good. They ran all over him, which was nice.
I just it amazes me what a good coach can do. You know, and Luke Fickle
Yeah,
program,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
similar to
Yeah.
UC, that you can take. School's got some talent, but when you mold and develop and grow those kids, you can turn it into a top 10 program.
Yep, it makes me think of Brian Kelly. And
So,
still mad at Brian Kelly for going to Notre Dame, but
these are 2 words that are not allowed to be uttered on the show.
What?
That wasn't in the contract.
I don't
You
know.
can't utter the words Brian Kelly on the show.
Okay, we both just did it, so they cancel each other out.
Because he ruined my Sugar Bowl experience. I went to that game where UC played Florida,
Mhm.
but you know that's the game where he quit about 48 hours
Yeah.
before the
Yeah,
game, and I just was so disgusted. I was so excited to be going. I was taking my son to the game, and then the whole week they're talking about Brian Kelly maybe going to Notre Dame, and then he pulls the trigger and does it, and I'm like, that really couldn't wait another
Mhm.
72, 48 hours.
Yeah.
I-
Like if you're waiting.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't going to be recruiting
Right.
any kids in those 3 days. It
Right.
just was a complete disservice to the kids at UC that,
I agree.
you know, got you the job. I mean, yes, you had a part of it, but those kids are the ones that were out there, you know, on the field that exactly put their blood, sweat, and tears into it to elevate you to have the opportunity to go to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And you couldn't wait 72 hours or 48 hours or whatever it was a disservice to those kids.
Yeah, I agree.
And it showed on the field because they got walloped.
how
in
was
that game.
how was the Sugar Bowl experience though?
The Sugar Bowl experience was awesome. One, we didn't have to wear masks and we could all sit next
Right?
to each other.
Yeah.
So that was all wonderful. But it was just incredible to be down there. All the energy was phenomenal, even from the UC fan. Even though we were getting killed, there's great energy from UCM from Florida.
Where was the game?
It was down at New Orleans in the Superdome.
Okay, I never been in the Superdome.
I mean, this was a Florida-led team with Tim Tebow and I think Carlos Dunlap might have been on that team as well. And I think they probably had 6 or 8 guys that were either at one point in the NFL. I think a couple of wide receivers were in the NFL as well. The tight end from New England, who ended up going to jail, Hernandez, was on that team as well. And Florida was just
tough offensive team.
And then they were coached by Urban Meyer, so the chips were stacked against them.
Badly,
but I'll never forget. I think it was like in the first series or two, we had somebody streaking down the field wide open, and Tony Pike just could not get the ball off in time, and it would have been an easy 7 points. But Carlos Dunlap or somebody on that Florida line got to him, and I thought if we could have just made that one play just to say, hey, we belong, we're here.
Yep.
But before I know it, I went and got popcorn. I think we were down 21-0.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Melvin.
I think the reason why Kelly left because it has something to do with that.
Oh, I'm sure Notre Dame paid a lot more
Absolutely.
money.
And they didn't want to wait no longer than 3 days. If they waited any longer, he would have got that, but he still got his job back. But he didn't want to take that chance. He just wanted to get the money and make a good showing. He did it. They made a good showing, but they still got crushed.
It's funny when you listen to like Tony Pikes on the radio.
Yeah.
Every once in a while when Notre Dame comes up, you can still tell the bad feelings he harbors towards that situation.
Yeah.
With him leaving for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Pretty good, Bill.
Well, I feel like the last time I was on the show, we had so many other sports to talk about. There was like the NBA Finals and baseball World Series was going on, and it all came to an end. And so, what am I missing besides college football and college basketball? I mean, college football and pro football. Anything?
We don't know when things are going to start back up. We think the NBA, are they going to start in the fall, or are they wait until the spring?
Until January.
January?
Yeah,
Okay.
looking at January.
Baseball, I'm assuming, is going to be the 1st of April. Yeah.
I hope so.
They wanted to be more games. That's what the problem is right there. They wanted to be more games instead of I forget how many games they had this year because it didn't take long for the game to be over.
So, Chris.
Championship?
Yeah.
Was it more than 50, 60 games?
For what league?
48.
They play 82.
Was that less or more?
Oh, what did they just play?
Oh, they just played a lot less.
Yeah, it was probably between 40 and 50, if I had to guess.
Trying to make some decisions. I saw that on the internet the other night. They had LeBron James.
Yeah.
And they were going to try to bring some more games. Starting back up.
I did read that the Players Association was quoting LeBron James as saying we're not going to start until next year. So.
Oh, we do have from Linda. My husband watches golf. Yawn.
Did you? You know who I saw this weekend? John Daly, and I haven't seen John Daly in years and years and years. Remember John Daly?
Oh yeah.
He played around at a pro-am with one of my friends, and it was just the two of them in the cart, and he enjoyed himself the entire time.
As only John could.
Got pretty ugly towards the end, but he's 7 under, and after I think it was an 8-over round. I'm like, you can go 8 over and still be 7 under after 3 rounds. You can still hit the ball.
I mean, I'll never forget the visual of John Daly, and kind of speaks to some of the work. Our focus is more on mental health.
Yes,
But
I remember this.
But John Daly and his struggles with alcohol, and he's on the green, and he's just shivering from the withdrawals, and you couldn't help but feel for him. And I've always been a John Daly fan.
Yeah,
I've always kind of rooted for him. Just such a different kind of golfer.
Yeah.
Was I think he was the originator of Grip It and Rip It.
Grip it and rip it. Yeah.
He hit those 300 plus yard bombs.
Yep.
And
He is a big guy. He's an Arkansas guy. That's why my dad loved him. So
Yeah, I have a cousin that's built like John Daly, who's a golfer, and
Yeah.
he's the same way. Didn't his swing was more compact, and he'd hit it about close to 300, whereas John Daly had that
Mhm.
big wide,
Mhm.
and how he got that
Yeah.
physique and to be that flexible,
Mm-hmm.
it just amazed me with how he could do it. So, Linda, I hope we didn't bore you with our golf talk there, but John Daly is fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
And it's good to see him doing well.
Yep.
Well, if it's all right with you, I'm gonna. Oh, we got a question from Judy.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say that I got the chance to meet Jordan Spieth.
You
Oh, wow.
did.
Where was that?
Where was that at?
Down in Hilton Head.
Okay, down at the Heritage Golf Outing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, and really nice guy. Really super cool, nice guy. Very polite, very mannerly.
Okay.
Yeah, and super nice.
I think he's a Texas guy.
Yeah, he is.
Right.
Jordan Spieth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Such a gentleman.
One last thing on golf, real quick. I always wanted. This was years ago, back when I was in much better shape. But there was a part of me that at one point I wanted to walk away from working for 1 year and do nothing but golf
Mm-hmm.
to see how far, if that's all you did with your life, to see how far you could actually go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could I get to a zero handicap? Could I, whatever the goal might be, could I ever even get so good to play on some little mini tour, or would I just still be some hack who shoots,
Mhm.
6 over par? I always wanted to see what could I do if I actually trained myself physically, mentally, to see, take this. I'm like probably a 15 handicap, 14 handicap.
Is that okay? That was my question.
So,
That's-
and to
that's-
see what I could actually do with that.
That's dreaming big.
And,
you had a 15
and what I would
handicap.
call, I'm not going to call it retirement. I think as the kids say in school, it's taking the gap year.
The gap
I would
year.
take my
yeah.
gap
It's a
year of
sabbatical.
work.
That's right.
Where I've always wanted to see what I could do.
How old were you when you were pondering this?
This was like 10 years ago. So I was in my early 40s.
Okay.
I think I was still younger than when Nicholas
42,
won the Masters.
All right.
So-
42.
I have.
Not that I thought I was going to win the Masters, but
I have an experience that's much the same as yours. And this is kind of, we're peers on this because I realized about 10 years ago that I was never going to the Olympics. So I put an ad on Craigslist, look for a ping pong table, because I figured that was my one shot at making the Olympic team. If I would devote all my time to the ping pong table, eventually it wouldn't matter that I was 43 years old. It would just matter that I could hit the shots. But I didn't find one. So my dream ended.
I'm going to revitalize that dream.
Yeah.
I think there's still hope for curling.
Okay.
I think that curling.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yes, there's a skill set, but I think that at any age you may, although the curling experts out there that are watching, are probably
Right.
like, shame on you for saying that. But I just think that I don't know how much training like physically you have to do for that.
Mm-hmm.
That
It's just, can you push that little rock the right speed in the right place?
Yeah, and there's a certain skill to it.
Yeah.
And I like those sports where there's a certain skill,
Yeah.
but not a lot of power, speed, and strength needed. For it.
Right. Yeah. I
That's
could
more
do the
my alley.
biathlon if you didn't have to ski. If it was like a walk and shooting, I could do that. But you
Yeah,
got to ski.
the ski
so-
part makes it a little
Yeah,
challenging.
it does.
I'm with you on
But I'm
that.
halfway there.
Well, back when we were doing the show a while back, we used to touch upon John Wooden and kind of the messages he taught. And he was the phenomenal coach at UCLA. And if what I'd like to do is I dug up my old book of a lifetime of observations and reflections on and off the court from John Wooden. And I'm actually going to, if folks could give me about 5 minutes, just a couple things I wanted to read from it.
All right, cool.
Okay, so let me just start with a little bit because not everybody knows who John Wooden is. Share a little bit about him. So it says, John Wooden, an uncommon man. Does any sports figure in the 20th century stand astride the record books with more authenticity and authority than Coach John Wooden, the legendary coach of basketball at UCLA? He is the architect of perhaps the greatest championship record in all of sports. He won NCAA championships in, Tony, get this, 1964, 65, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 1975. Each of those years, he produced another NCAA championship for the UCLA team he coached. Altogether, I know Bill's writing them down, but I could have just told you 10 of them in 12 years, including 7 national championships in a row.
That's
a
amazing.
record that will
No, that'll never.
never be broken. So think for a moment about how that compares to what came before and what has followed. John Wooden shattered all notions of what constitutes supremacy in college basketball, and some would argue supremacy in any sport. Quite simply, he went where no one had ever gone before or since. But there's more. 88 consecutive victories. The previous record was 60. 38 straight NCAA tournament wins. The previous record was 13.
Gee whiz.
In 8 undefeated Pacific Conference crowns. Undefeated season after undefeated season, bringing down Coach of the Year award year after year, including the selection of him as the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year in 1972. A lifetime winning percentage of over 80%. But there's more. John Wooden was a 3-time All-American while playing basketball at Purdue, and is the only man ever elected to college basketball's Hall of Fame as both a player and a coach. For many, the magnitude of his achievements in basketball is nearly beyond comprehension. So let me tell you how this book came to be written, because it had little to do with the tips or on the technique of shooting a jump shot or specific details of Wooden's extraordinary life. And when it comes to John Wooden, it became very clear that he had a personal philosophy of achievement, success, and excellence that has much greater application in living one's life than playing or coaching basketball. Ultimately, what John Wooden addresses is how to achieve, these are the big words, peace of mind, which I know a lot of us sometimes struggle to obtain. And that's why I love reading the excerpts from John Wooden, because there's such a goodness of character and integrity at his core that all of us can learn life lessons from. And I hope that every politician is out there listening to what we have to say here, because I think politics these days gets so ugly sometimes that I think a lot of us have to remember that if we can go back to our core, there's a lot of good and integrity and character in all of us. But John Wooden was just kind of the
Epitome.
the top of the pyramid, the epitome of what it means. I got a little more to read here, and then we'll get to some questions. So, only later did some other qualities also become evident about Coach Wooden. He was ferociously dedicated, meticulously detailed, and as principled as a saint. And what I want to jump to are just a little bit of his backgrounds and kind of take each episode we do here, one sort of life lesson or takeaway that we can learn from it. So let me just give you a brief little history on John Wooden. It says his roots go deep in America. He was born on a Friday morning in a little place called Hall, Indiana. It was just after the turn of the 20th century, October 14th of 1910. His dad and mom raised him and 3 brothers on a small farm in the south central part of the state until hard times forced their family to move into the nearby town of Martinsville. What I learned back during those early days in Indiana, the training I got from my father and mother, has stayed with me all my life, according to John Wooden. The training started with the kind of people that my parents were. So this is the first lesson. It's called Nothing is Stronger Than Gentleness. So my dad, Joshua Wooden, was a strong man in one sense, but also a gentle man. While he could lift heavy things men half his age couldn't lift, he would also read poetry to us each night after a day working in the fields raising corn, hay, wheat, tomatoes, and watermelons. We had a team of mules named Jack and Kate on our farm. Kate would often get stubborn and lie down on me when I was plowing. I couldn't get her up no matter how roughly I treated her. Dad would see my predicament and walk across the field until he was close enough to say, "Kate." Then she'd get up and start working again. He never touched her in anger. It took me a long time to understand that even a stubborn mule responds to gentleness. And that's what I really like, was that even a stubborn mule responds to gentleness. So that's just kind of the takeaway. He's got, I'm not even going to say hundreds, thousands of just life lessons and takeaways that sometimes we all kind of take them for granted, that I wanted to share each time we do an episode as kind of our little takeaway from this.
That's cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I've often wondered if where I would put Gino Auriemma in a category of best coaches of all time. Because I think there is a case to be made that John Wooden is the best organized coach of all time in any sport. But I think if I had to go with two others, I'd go with Pat Summitt at Tennessee and Gino Auriemma at UConn.
I think that those two are definitely at the top. I mean, they've transformed women's basketball. The two of them. I mean, Tennessee was, before was there. They did it before UConn, but then UConn kind of took what Tennessee did and even took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
I know Melvin's had his hand up for a few minutes here.
I just want to know was Woods had any kind of similarities to the two guys who get ready to name the coach? They had life experience, good and bad. So, talk about the one that coaches the Blue Devils,
Mike Krzyzewski.
okay, and one that coaches Indiana.
Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about Mike Krzyzewski and Bobby Knight is I think they both came from
Army.
Yes, military background, college.
I can say right off the bat, Bobby Knight had a completely different philosophy than John Wooden did.
Yes.
It was not gentleness
It was
whatsoever.
fear and intimidation.
Yeah.
And Mike Krzyzewski's more about he's part John Wooden in that he's a teacher of the game, but then Krzyzewski is also kind of part Knight in that it's not fear and intimidation, but it is I'm the alpha
male,
male
exactly,
here, and you guys are going to do what.
And
I'm telling you to do.
there's evidence of that in how he deals with the crowds. Even he wants everything to be. I'm really excited about what history will tell us about Mike Krzyzewski.
Yes.
About what really he was teaching and what meant the most to him and that kind of thing.
I do think he is a phenomenal coach.
Yeah.
And I think what he's able to do, because I was talking about balance, he has that wonderful balance of I'm a teacher over here, but I have this, style here of, and I don't want to, authoritarian is not the right word, but he's got this disciplined. He's a very disciplined approach to how he coaches, and he's able to kind of find that balance and just has put together an incredible career.
Yeah. I watched a little 30 for 30, I think, on Sue Bird. Sue Bird? I think she's got 4 gold medals, 3 WNBA championships, and a couple of MVP awards. And she was talking about Gino Auriemma, and when she was a freshman, she came in to run the point. And he pulled her into his office one time and started chastising her for turnovers that the team had made and mistakes they had made that had nothing to do with her. And he said, you've got to be responsible for everything that happens on the floor. Everything is your responsibility. It's all your fault if it goes wrong. And she said it took her almost 2 years to internalize that, but that he was right, that once she got to that point, it was like watching the game from above and everything slowed down for her. And I think that's pretty cool.
I agree. Yes, Melvin.
Okay, they questioned his professional focus too. But the way he said it was like, he said, how come you haven't got into coach the NBA? He said, I couldn't take it because I don't want no NBA player telling me how to learn coaching.
That's a good statement, yeah. And he did. He did go into the NBA and
Probably not. But he always used something like this, like, I don't want him telling me something. Because, hey, I'll fight any level. That was probably not. Don't make no difference. I'll fight any one of them. That was his attitude.
I think there's a correlation there between Nick Saban going into the NFL and what he found to be the case.
Yeah.
He's a great college coach, wonderful college coach, but those things don't translate so well when you're dealing with people who play for money.
And speaking of Mike Krzyzewski, it takes me back to a fond memory I have of when I had my whole family mad at me.
I can't believe that ever happened. All right.
Well, I had in-laws in from out of town staying in my house, and it was the night that UC was playing Duke in the Great Alaskan Shootout. And this game was going on until I think it was about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Because they're 6 hours behind us.
And I wasn't going to miss this. So I stayed up And when they made that pass, and then they made the second pass to Melvin Levitt, who I can't remember if he dunked it or laid it
He
in.
helicoptered it somehow.
And UC won at 3:00 in the morning. I'm screaming and hooting and hollering. I'm running around the house. Totally forgot that I got people staying with me.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "What is going on?" I was like, "Uh-oh." I was like, "What are you doing out there?" I was like, "UC just won." She's like, "Go to bed."
Go to bed.
Right.
Did not share your enthusiasm.
They did not share my. They were, I should say the in-laws are UC fans. They're Ohio State fans. My wife was a UC fan, but she did not share the enthusiasm that
I understand.
I did, especially at 3 a.m. So needless to say, when it was about 8 a.m. and they were all getting up, they were letting me know how enthusiastic they were about going to get breakfast.
Mhm. Yep. Hey, we've got 5 people that are watching, and thank you guys very much. If you don't mind, just say something in the chat box like hi, so we can get your name. We're just looking for first names because we're trying to keep track of who all we're reaching. So if you don't mind. I've got all your names. I've already written them down.
Well,
So you listened last week when Judy was
I got to
co-host,
listen
right?
to part of it. Judy, thank you so much. You did a fantastic job.
Judy was phenomenal, and she made it really easy to sit here. She told a really good story about being in the Sky Dome. Did you hear that one?
Yeah.
She got a personal tour of the Sky Dome in Toronto, and the guy, the docent that was leading the tour, they were standing near first base, I think, and said, "I'm going to turn around and look over there for a minute, and whatever you do, it's up to you."
I wanted to go up onto the mound, and he said, "Well, technically, you're not supposed to." But he said, "I'm just going to walk over here, and you do what you want. Just be quick about it." So I naturally, took off, ran up onto the pitcher's mound, threw a couple of imaginary pitches, dug my foot in.
That's such a great story.
That is awesome.
And then I grabbed a handful of dirt, stuffed it in my pocket, and ran off.
I love it.
That is
I
a
love
classic
it.
story. Very good.
Hi, JB. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank
And
you
Linda,
all.
yes, we knew you were here.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us, and thank you all for the long wait in line to get into our studio audience. And
Right.
it was great to have you all join us today. Thank
It was.
you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you guys very much. Come back at 2:45. Nice job.